chance to guide and take a stand. Community rising, hearts aligned. In this moment, power's redefined. It's in the ballot where we belong. Every vote builds a nation strong. Your council, your board, your mayor in line. Together we shape this land divine. It's in the ballot where we belong. Every vote builds a nation strong. Your council, your board, your mayor in line. Together we shape this land divine. From hills to shores, every voice will soar. Decisions made will open the door to brighter days and skies that shine. Our future's ours, it's yours and mine. It's in the ballot. It's in the ballot. It's in the ballot. From hills to shores, every voice will soar. Decision heal the moments near. Your voice is loud, it's crystal clear. Kiwi dreams and hopes collide. Choose the ones so stand with pride. It's in the ballot where we belong. Every vote builds a nation strong. Your council, your board, your mayor in line. Together we shape this land divine. The future's written in your hand. A chance to guide and take a stand. Community rising, hearts aligned. Together we shape this land divine. It's in the ballot we belong. Every vote builds a nation strong. Your council, your board, your mayor.
Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's It's in the Ballot show. These candidates here are vying on why they should become the next Western Ward councillor, but with every election there's one thing stepping in the way, and that's your vote. And coming here live from the Kelson Community Centre, we've got the It's in the Ballot Western Ward show with our two candidates, Robbie and Chris here, who are vying to get your tick on why they should be the next councillor. Robbie, would you like to go up first on why you should be given that tick?
Thank you, Sam, and thanks for having on the show. What a great initiative. I've decided to stand for council for three key reasons. One, none of us as residents and stakeholders in council can afford rates rises of 46% over the next 3 years. And I would like to understand a lot more about where the money is being spent, how it's being spent, and reduce wasteful spending. Two, there's water reform is happening, and we need to know as a community what actually that means and how it's going to impact all of us. Is it going to mean that our rates rise? Are our rates going to drop? And what does that mean? So better engagement with the community around that. And thirdly, to help protect the environment that is unique to the Western Hills. I've lived here for 20 years, love the area, raised 2 boys here, and want to make sure that our environment is protected in the best way as possible. Thank you.
Okay, next up we've got Chris, your opening statement.
Kia ora koutou, ko Chris Parkin tōku ingoa, and I've had the privilege and pleasure of being your Western Ward Councillor for the last 3 years. For me, I got onto council because I wanted to see some serious action around climate change, a greater engagement with the community, and continuing to ensure that we get good value for money. And it's been a fascinating journey. I bring with me a science background, so try and bring that degree of analysis and occasionally awkward questions to officers to the table. And so I really hope that I've done a good enough job over the last 3 years that you'll see me back in and be able to continue to represent you.
Okay, thank you for that. And so we're going to get off to the box questions. Now, because we've got 2 candidates here, we're going to do things a little bit differently to our standard format. We're going to get the candidates to pick a box number, but every time they pick out a box number, we both candidates will answer it, so that at least it gives a bit of a backwards and forwards sort of thing. I'm very sure we'll get through all the questions, and I've just realised I've got no paperwork in front of me to write down the numbers. So I hope, like hell, you guys are very good at keeping to remember what box numbers we've picked out. Yeah. Okay. Chris, would you like to choose the first box number?
Shall we go with box number 1 and keep your life easy?
Yes, that sounds like a great idea. And I'll flip the cards over, so I don't know what's in box number 1 that's pulled halfway out from the thing. And then we get to the fun part there where we've got D for Delta. What is your view on residential, commercial and industrial growth in the city?
Cool. So we absolutely need it. We need it in the right locations, particularly with residential growth. One of the things that can be a key benefit to cities is ensuring that we grow around transport hubs. Currently, our district plan sort of does that, but we are limited in terms of how much control we have of where we grow houses. Part of that is down to central government, and for example, we're not allowed to legislate where people have to provide car parks, and obviously car parks cost money for builders to put in. But if we could legislate that we actually need car parks and EV chargers outside of those diameters around areas where we want that to see that growth, so train stations and commercial hubs, then we would actually have a better control over the way that our city works. Unfortunately, that's one of those things that we need to talk to central government about.
Okay. Robbie.
So my view on residential, commercial, industrial growth in the city, it absolutely has to happen. I have a strong feeling that we're underdone, and particularly on the commercial and industrial side, and we need to act quickly to retain business in our city. I mean, I'm aware of a number of businesses that are considering Hutt as a location, particularly out of the Callaghan. And if we don't act quickly, those businesses will either leave the Hutt city or leave the country altogether. With a prosperous business community, we can have job opportunities for youth, we can have all of the residential, we can have business owners able to afford their rates, which many are struggling with at the moment. So, I think having a strong, prosperous hub is going to enable that for a lot of us as ratepayers, and the residential will fall into play. There's a lot of people that are struggling out there at the moment, and we need to support as much as we can, and the business community is a big part of that.
Oh, okay. I'll just turn them all down. That works. See, it sounds like the microphones are too loud. Okay, Robbie.
Strong
box
voices.
Number.
Box number 2. Thank
Box
you,
number 2.
Sam.
Thank you for that. That makes things very nice and simple there. We got A for Alpha. Are council policies helping small businesses survive and grow?
So I am a small business owner, have been since 2003. And really in the last 5 to 10 years have I started to take notice of local government policies and politics and how that impacts on business owners. And I would have to say, in my capacity of the last 10 years at the Jackson Street program, former chair, current treasurer, working strongly with the business community, hearing the voices and the struggle that is happening, I would have to say that the business owners are struggling, and a large part of that has come from the council policies. At the public hearing last year, I actually cited 15 businesses to the council, most of whom, including the mayor, had never heard of these businesses, and they're in our city working day to day, employing people, innovating, creating opportunities for people and paying rates. So I don't think the council policies have been helping the business community survive and grow to date.
Chris?
So one of the pleasures that was quite unexpected was the benefits of being a councillor is getting to go and see some of these amazing businesses that we have in the Hutt. We have some manufacturers that actually create parts of spacecraft and satellites. We have a very clever institute called Robinson Institute, which are looking at superconductors and electric motors that are significantly lighter than what we currently have. All of those businesses are supported through the Chamber of Commerce, which is supported by and paid for by council and therefore by your rates. So actually, we do support those communities, those businesses. I definitely understand that communities aren't doing it tough and businesses are doing it very tough. One of the things that came up with Jackson Street was whether or not we put in paid parking. We chose to put in paid parking because of the equity issue, but ultimately it seems to actually be benefiting communities, businesses in Petone, because they've had less of a downturn than other parts of Tauranga, which is really hard to hear when it's this tough of a business life.
Yeah.
Would you be able to share those microphones?
Sure.
This one?
Yeah.
Why is that?
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cannot hear so well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've also seen a comment about echo, but I mean, it's not echoing inside here, so I'm not sure if it's just multiple mics picking up. Chris, what box number?
3.
3. Yeah. 28.
28. So we just have to remember what number we're up to. Yeah.
Okay, so we got Z for Zulu. If a candidate is found to be breaking the campaign rules, do you believe the candidate should be publicly own the mistake / issue, or should it be able to be swept under the rug, and why?
So this is an interesting one. I think I know where this question's coming from, and it's really unfortunate for the timing. I think, yes, a candidate, when they know that they have made a mistake, should own it. I think that we should have a system that actually addresses the mistakes faster than it has, and then unfortunately the system has taken a very long time to process complaints, and now they're hitting the publicity, which is not good for anybody, and certainly not good for the debate that we're having. And so I would encourage that if there are mistakes, own up to them. If there aren't mistakes and people are operating within the law, then that should be addressed, and should the issues should be cleared as fast as possible.
Thank you, Sam. I'm aware that being a councillor involves being active, engaged in the community, and being a bit more of a public figure. And I have no concerns or issues at all with people taking accountability for their actions. And I think that's usual practice for anybody in any kind of profession. So yeah, I have no concerns with that at all.
Okay. And Robbie, what box number?
Well, let's go for 13, please.
Oh, we've got to throw it way off from 4.
Yeah. Oh, would you like to go through it numerically to make it easier?
I just probably won't remember, but that's all good. I mean, yeah. Okay. We got L for Laura. What part of the community or business sector does council need to work more closely with?
Yeah. No, thank you for the question. So certainly small and larger size businesses there's an underspend and underrepresentation of the business community by council. That was reinforced to me really when I went to the hearing last year and saw the sort of blank look on the face of many councillors who, some who are in business and have been in business, but they just don't, from what I could gather, have a business lens or see the business community as a focus. So the small business and medium-sized businesses need a larger voice at the table. We've got so many great businesses out there, and I think a lot of the businesses feel that council has let them down. They've tried to engage, they've had a shared voice that's all fallen on deaf ears, and decisions have been made without those voices being taken into account. So I think that having someone who's in business will represent that business voice a lot stronger than it's been.
Okay, Chris.
So I think we need to represent all parts of the community. It doesn't matter whether or not it's a small business, a small family, a community organisation, a church, whether or not it's our hospitals. We need to have that voice around the table. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody ends up with exactly what they want. And part of the job of being a councillor is hearing those disparate voices and coming to a conclusion and weighing the ideas that they bring to the table. And sometimes we've had an example was a presentation that was given during the district plan. One person spoke up against an idea that we had, and from an equity point of view, his argument made perfect sense, and so we dropped that idea based on the feedback of one person. So actually the listening to the community as a whole is really important, and sometimes those ideas can come from anywhere.
Okay, Chris, what box number?
5.
5? Okay, we got G for golf. What is your approach to handling controversial and complicated issues?
So my preference is to get in the room with the person and actually have a face-to-face. It doesn't always work, and sometimes I admit I have stuffed up in past confrontations where I've come across as too combative, and so that's something that I know that I personally need to work on. But ultimately it's having those face-to-face conversations, listening, taking on board the evidence, and then going from there and working out what is going to work for the community as a whole.
Robbie?
Thanks, Sam. So for me, handling controversial or complicated issues, the first thing that I need to do is know the facts. Understand what are the facts, what we're dealing with, and think about who might have a vested interest that could influence these facts. Then learn and understand who's got the most to gain or lose from a particular decision, and then think about what is going to best serve our community. What would the people out there want? What's going to best serve from a social, economic, and from an environmental perspective? So that's how I would deal with a controversial situation.
Okay, Robbie, what box number?
Let's go for 6. Thank you, Sam.
6. Okay. What's the suburb that starts with P that's in Petone? Or the Māori name. Petone, yes. The one that Chris Pink decided to sit there and hit the rubber stamp rejected on it. Okay. Plenty of councils have youth councils, and it seems like the youth voice is missing here and would be great to have it back. Are you in favour of a youth council for Hutt City Council?
Definitely. I'm a big advocate, being a father of 2 boys that are in the early 20s, of supporting and developing the growth of youth. And I've coached rugby and done a lot of volunteering work with youth, and having a youth voice at the council, absolutely support 100%.
Likewise, very much agree with having a youth council. In fact, I voted in favour of keeping the youth council. Unfortunately, I was overruled. However, the current version that we have at the moment is a dedicated council officer who's getting out there, talking to youth and bringing the youth to the table. So it's not just a select group of people who happen to be on council, more often than not the head boys and head girls of the school, and trying to ensure that we actually have a wider representation of the youth also contributing their voice.
Okay, Chris, what box number?
8.
8. Okay. We're E for Echo. What are your priority areas for expenditure?
So I think for me, for expenditure, it's making sure that we get value for money. We have services that we need to provide, particularly water is the biggest infrastructure and investment that's needed. That's actually coming off council books over the next year or so. But until that happens, that is still very much the council priority. It's then making sure that we have really effective communities, strong communities, and that's part of that is engagement. Part of that is ensuring that our communities are connected. So it's the community in the whole that needs that money spent and spent well.
Robbie.
Priorities for expenditure. For me, infrastructure has got to be the number one. It seems that we've got aging infrastructure. It's failing in many areas. It's got to be the number one priority. As Chris said, water reform is happening, so we need to be at the table and have our voice represented there. Roading is always an issue, particularly with leaking pipes and the streets being dug up all the time. And the other one is power. I've been out in the community and listened to our ageing infrastructure around power, and it sounds like there's regular power outages in certain areas. So I think that needs to be on the table at some point at the discussions for expenditure.
Robbie, what box number?
We 8.
8.
Let's try.
Try 8. Okay, we got V for Victor. What should council's priorities be when making making grants to the community?
Yeah, thank you. I just did make some notes earlier. So when looking at a grant to the community, the first thing I would be thinking about is what is the economic impact of this grant? The second, what is the social impact? And the third, how long will this grant serve our community? So how is it developing people, business, and what's the long-term effect that it's going to leave for the city? With a business hat on, is it a good investment for all of those reasons, for the people in the community, for what we're trying to achieve as a city, and the economic growth and development?
For me, it's how do we leverage that money? How do we get the best bang for the buck? How do we ensure that we're supporting communities, particularly that are where we've got groups of volunteers functioning, and all businesses, and where the business is giving back and we're actually enriching the community above and beyond that monetary spend? How do we actually ensure that that money is well spent? And for me, when I'm looking at a grant like that, it's how does that flow and effect happen, and where can we see those benefits within the community?
Okay, Chris, what box number?
9.
9.
Trying to make your job easy.
Thank you. Okay, we've got AA for the Automobile Association. It's a bit better than saying Autocratics Anonymous, because I don't believe the alcohol one is really relevant, because that seems to be something we should keep secret. What do you think of local government or local democracy?
Oh, that's a loaded question when you're already in the job, isn't it?
Blame what was it, Paul Lambert for that one?
I think it's a key part to our society. I think that being on the ground is actually really important, and I'm really glad to see other political parties actually starting to reach out and engaging, and not just having generally the left-leaning side of the political spectrum from a central government point of view. We have political interference, shall we say, or impact from central government in local government. We have to acknowledge that it's there, and whether we like it or not, it's actually better if those organisations and parties actually come out and say, this is the candidate that we're supporting. It has the advantage that you actually have your candidates being selected and going through some form of selection process, so you, the voter, also know that you're getting good quality candidates, hopefully.
My view on local government and local democracy is that we need more forums and avenues for the public to voice their opinion and for this voice to be heard. I think many people out there feel that decisions are being made regardless of what is being said, And an example is the Jackson Street program got 2,500 signatures against paid parking. We went to various formats, and a decision was made without even feeling like that was taken into account. So I think a lot of people feel that way, and that they feel that elected members have not stood up for the ward or the people that they represent. So I feel that, you know, people out there feel that democracy is being taken away from them, and I think we need to do a better job as a local government and council to represent the people and listen to them and represent their voice.
Okay, Robbie, what box number?
Let's go for 10. Thank you, Sam.
Let's go for 10. Yeah. Okay, we have F for Fairfield, because I know that's a suburb in Lower Hutt.
Yeah.
How will you fit in council meetings with your other commitments?
Yeah, thank you. So I have the privilege of being self-employed and have flexibility with my working life. And the two boys that I've raised are now living in Australia, actually, so they're off my hands. So I do actually have quite a bit of time and still quite a bit of energy to be able to contribute. So from my perspective, this is not the first time I've considered council, but probably the first time that I've been in a position where I could dedicate the time without being distracted on the home front or the business. So I'll be able to integrate my business quite easily with the council activities should I be elected.
Okay, Chris.
So I'm lucky enough to be a teacher, but I teach remotely. I teach for, well, currently Te Pūkanga, Southern Institute of Technology, and so all of that work is done online, which means that it can fit in and around council. I also teach pottery at Hutt Art Society and have taught at Wesley Rata Village as well. And those two I just schedule around to make sure that I don't have meetings on those days. It tends to be evenings, and unfortunately that does mean that Kelson Community means that I miss out on seeing their meetings unless they happen to fall into the term breaks, and that is unfortunate, and wish that I could spend a little bit more time there. But certainly the council regular day-to-day stuff is easily fitted in.
Okay, Chris, what box number?
11.
11.
Yeah, it'd be bad when I lose count.
It's all right. You can always do it in Te Māori if you wanted to. Okay, we got you for uniform or for Upper Hutt. How should Hutt City Council work with the regional council to improve local public transport?
Well, this one is very much a case of working with the other elected representatives and officers, and we've actually had the privilege of having Quinton Duthie as one of our Greater Wellington Regional Councillors for this term, and he's been quite instrumental in ensuring that he engages with both Hutt City Council, so we've been able to feed back information to him, but also the local community. And so one of the things that we've been working on is Riverlink, particularly engaging with people, getting feedback on the fact that originally we were proposing to shut down the whole of the train line for Melling. That's no longer happening, and it's just closing Melling railway station, and so there'll still be the trains running through that line, which is going to have a significantly less impact than it was going to.
Yeah, there are big and exciting projects happening in Lower Hutt at the moment, and I agree with Chris that engagement with the regional council is the key to that, to be able to understand and connect, and also reiterate what Chris has said about Quinton Duthie. The times I've met with him, spoken with him, engaged, and listened to his presentations, he's a real asset to our region, and I think, you know, collaboration between those councils is going to get the best outcome for all of us.
So this is a supplementary as being a train nerd. The train's going to be running to Western Hutt train station. Yep. Okay. That's going to be fun on the signals.
In the short term until the new station's built.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good to know. Yeah. No, it's yeah, because I know the way the signaling on that line works. It's like there's none one direction, and there's one at the station, and then one at just after Western Hunt at the other end. Yeah.
And I think with part of that, Sam, there's a whole revamp on the signal network for the Wellington trains overall as part of the maintenance and development that's happening. Yeah.
If we're going to go down the train nerd side of things, the other challenge that they have is de-energizing the whole of the high voltage system so it's safe to work on as well.
Oh,
Fun.
oh yes, that's going to be. Now, Robbie, what box number?
Let's try 12.
12. So first talking trains, and now we're back to questions. Okay, now I'll be shot if I say don't choose this one, but we got K for Kelson.
Nice.
Yes, without a T.
Yeah, because we're in,
Yeah. We're not that suburb in Auckland, which that's hit. You know, I had an uncle who lived there, and he's technically lived under 3 suburbs while living in the same house because there was suburb redistricting. Yeah. Okay. So so we got K for Kelson. What are your ideas for helping people who don't have good internet access to be involved and have their say?
Look, I think the more we can have the community engaged, coming to public hearings and listening to what people have got to say, I certainly believe that phone surveys could happen. There's no reason why teams of people could not be ringing up and talking to people and say, you know, what do you think about this, for those that aren't connected to the internet. I know that people still write letters. I still write letters to my clients, and in this day and age, I think that has a lot of impact. It's quite engaging. So I think reaching out to the community and working out ways that they can participate through public meetings, phone surveys, writing letters, and just because you're not connected to the internet doesn't mean you're not connected to humanity.
Just to mention, $2.90, I believe, is what it costs for a stamp now.
Wow.
There's inflation for you.
40.
Yeah.
So of course, sorry. No.
You were saying people can drop letters down to the council, and you're quite right. The other way of engaging with people is our hubs, is our community libraries, and we're lucky now to have the one in Mangaraki, which has been a combined effort with the school as well as the council, but it's now there as a community asset, so people can go there. And if you don't have internet access, then there is internet access through the libraries and hubs, particularly with the postal network. As soon as it's come up, you will be finding that, particularly if you're wanting to vote in the last week of the election, the information is don't put it in the post box. There is no guarantee that it will get there, but you will find orange boxes around to be able to vote, and hopefully that will help increase voter engagement. But in terms of making sure that we get out there in the community and engage, we're lucky enough in the Western Ward to have a number of very strong community organisations in terms of community groups and residents associations. And being a councillor, I've been able to go along to those and listen to those meetings. So if you want to come along to them and engage and have your say within your really local community, it's a great way of doing it.
And you're so right, because they even changed the law for this local body election from an 8-week to a 10-week turnaround period from nomination to voting because of the postal system. Yes. The only positive thing that was on the Māori Wards referendum bill. Yes. Now, Chris, what box number?
14, because we've already had 13.
Okay, we got B for Belmont. Is ratepayer money is rate money being spent responsibly?
I'd say yes, for the most part. There are always times that we're going to be able to find savings. However, part of the challenge is that the downwards pressure on rates that we've had over the course of 20 or 30 years has actually meant that rates money has not been spent responsibly. It would have been a lot cheaper and easier and more cost effective to spend our money on our water infrastructure long before we started losing 40% in our leaks. So I'd have to say on the whole, no, we haven't. We can do better, and that's part of the reason why we've got this water infrastructure change.
Robbie?
So I have to say to this question, I don't know, as I don't know the internal workings of finances of council and how and where it spends its money. I feel that there is a lot of waste. I've talked to a couple of people in council and they feel that we could potentially drop rates by 30, 40% and still function. I don't know the answer to that, but I do think that a full review and an audit is required so that we can make those decisions and look at where the money is actually being spent. Are we getting the best bang for a buck? Have we got contractors taking advantage of the situation because it's a council job? And I've had that in my profession in the insurance industry, where we've had to ask doctors and surgeons to send receipts back to say $250 for surgical scissors. You must have made a mistake. They're actually $25. And I think holding people to account is really important. And so if I'm elected, that'll be one of the things that I'll be looking for, is a full financial review and holding people a bit more accountable to where the money's being spent.
There might be some contractors a bit scared when they sit there and have their invoices questioned. Might be hauled up in front. Can you haul up contractors in front of the council table? Yeah.
So that probably would fall under their operations rather than governance. We've certainly had the head of Wellington Water come and talk to us directly about some of the issues that we've had with contractors, and that was actually to do with the fact that the previous system of the way that they gave out contracts was not as transparent as it needs to be. So that hit the news, and those changes had already happened, and he'd already been long on to fixing those problems. Yes, there has been some wasteful spending, but certainly within the water side of things, that is starting to be addressed significantly.
Yeah. Okay. What box number?
Let's go 15.
15. Oh yes. Who got their driver's license at 15?
Yeah,
I know. I did.
I don't know, later, 17, 18.
Oh, gee, you're a late starter.
Yeah.
Okay, we have W for Wainui Mata.
Nice.
What political party are you linked to?
None. Not linked to any political party at all. I mean, I vote as a voter for national elections, and I voted as local, council elections, but I have no affiliations to any political party at all.
Your closest affiliation is to the tick on the ballot paper.
And I'm a Green Party member, but I also have a number of friends and supporters that are cross party. In fact, when I got my JP thing, although it's not an endorsement by Chris Bishop, both Chris Bishop and Jenny Anderson had to sign off on my JP nomination. So it was kind of cool.
Why did both MPs had to do that?
Because to become a JP, you have to have your nomination signed off by the electorate MP. And I got my nomination in just at the change when we had the election. Oh. Jenny was no longer electorate MP. Chris Bishop came in, therefore that had to be processed. So one of those rare moments that I've been signed off twice.
Things we're learning tonight. Now, what box number?
16.
16. Okay. Do we have a suburb that starts with H in Lower Hutt?
We have Hill Road, which is close by.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. We'll do H for Hill Road. What skills and experiences do you have that you believe would be beneficial to you as a council member?
So as I mentioned, I have my science background. Probably something more interesting was my mother said I should get into politics, and that was something running through my childhood. I remember when I got elected, Mum said, "Yeah, you had an interview with somebody, and they said that you should be good." And that was when I was about 12. So it's like, okay, fine.
So I'm a small business owner, and I've been an independent financial advisor since 2003 with a background in hospitality. I lived in Australia for 8 years, worked for corporate Pernod Ricard and Bacardi. With my financial insurance knowledge, which I've been doing for the last 20 years, and holding insurance companies and investment companies to account, and our clients for that matter, that's business owners and individuals making good decisions with their money, I'll bring some financial accountability to the table. and I'm reasonably well known around the Hutt City and the Western Ward, having lived there for 20 years and been involved with the Friends of Normandale Association on the board of trustees at Hutt Intermediate for a few years. I've also been the national chair of Financial Advisors Association, where we had 200 advisors across the country. So I bring some governance experience in that respect. I'm the past chair of the Jackson Street program, board member for 10 years, and the current treasurer. So I bring a bit to the table in that respect.
Okay, Robbie, what box number?
17.
17. Okay, we got C for council.
Nice. Yes.
I can't think of a suburb that starts with C in Lower Hutt. What council committee would you prefer to be on if elected?
Yeah, thank you, Sam. So I noted 3, the first one being financial, the second being heritage, and the third being environment. I think all are important, but with my background and skills and interest in the financial sector, I think that's the committee that I'd contribute the most to the council if elected.
Okay, Chris.
So this is an interesting question because actually those committees are set by the new mayor. And as we don't know what those committees are going to be, I'm going to base my idea off what we've previously had. And I've been lucky enough to be on the Climate Change and Sustainability Committee and have been able to use my science background for that. I've also been lucky enough to be on the Communities Committee as well. And that's been really interesting. On a more unusual one, I've been on the traffic subcommittee, which has been dealing with parking. So it's a much more mundane issue, but also one that affects people from an everyday point of view, where we put in car parks, where we put in dotted yellow lines, where we put in bus stops, can have a really big impact on people, and being on those committees and being able to be a listening ear to people when they come and present to council, and also sometimes just helping people come through the doors of council and come to present. So if I do get re-elected and you want to present at council, please give me a ring and I'll take you through the process.
Okay, Chris, what box number?
19.
19. Okay, we've got S for Sam. Do you think the council should be involved in providing social housing, and if so, how?
So ultimately, they shouldn't have to. I think central government should take this responsibility on. Unfortunately, central government have shown that they don't, and that because we are local and because we actually see and understand the concerns of the community and the needs of the community at a much more grassroots level, actually it does fall to the council to do that. And our Urban Plus is actually doing a really good job of doing this. We've slightly widened the mandate from just looking at or predominantly looking at people who are retirees that can't afford their own homes. But one of the advantages of doing that and providing the social housing is that we can then direct the builders to ensure that they provide particular types of housing, say accessibility, and then they have that skill set to be able to take out into the wider building community.
Okay.
Yeah, I think history's showed mixed results, and I think overall there's a bigger conversation here that needs to be had with government that enables a partnership for our region. I don't know the full mechanics of workings of the history with council, but I just think that there's a broader conversation from a national scale that needs to be had and then brought to a local level. And I think the council needs to be involved and engaged as part of that conversation so that the voice of our people are represented correctly in that conversation. And I agree that, you know, there needs to be some support for some people out there. And if the council is in a position and it makes sense to be able to contribute to that, then I'm all for that.
Okay, Robbie, what box
18.
number? 18. Oh yes, the good old voting age. Still, yes. Yeah, you never know. There's someone might on that electoral reform bill might suggest lifting it back to 21. Okay, we got T for tighter. What is your understanding of invisible and visible disabilities, and what are you going to do for the disability community of Lower Hutt?
I'm not fully aware really of this in terms of the disability in the community. Of course, we have disabled people. Yes, we have the knobs on the traffic lights to assist the blind. I need to learn a bit more about what's actually happening there. I know that down in Petone, we have guided walking tours for the deaf and visually impaired that are able to come out on a bus and plug into earphones or talking devices and have a full tour. So we've created that experience for the disabled and vulnerable. So I think it's really important. I just don't know what is happening in the council at the moment, where it sits in the priorities. But we definitely need to have a voice for that sector of the community as well.
Chris.
So this is an interesting one for me personally because I have an invisible disability. I have multiple sclerosis. It's fortunately relapsing remitting, but this time, 6 years ago, I was walking with a walking stick. I still suffer from, if I get too hot, I start losing my eyesight, which is always interesting when I'm dancing. So if you do see me dancing, I tend to drink a lot of iced water to try and keep my body temperature down. But having had that lived experience, I'm also very much aware that my experience is not the same as everybody else's. So ensuring that we have multiple voices. I've been involved with Wheels and Canes and the great work that they do in terms of the feedback that they've given to Nainai Pool. And so ensuring that we have different voices from different disabled communities is really important. And yes, you don't see all disabilities, and case in point for me.
Okay, Chris, what box number?
XX 20. Let's go Roman numerals.
I think that used to be the name of a radio station where I grew up. 2XX. If you remember things from Power Programming. Okay, we got Q for the Queen. And a reference to me, Elizabeth II. What budget line item would you remove to help bring rates down in Lower Hutt without disrupting basic services? I like it at home. The budget line item would like to be my rent.
Yeah. And so ultimately, the budget line that we are going to bring down from council point of view is our water infrastructure. The problem is that ultimately that's not actually probably the answer to the question that you're asking, because that's still going to be paid for you by the ratepayer. It's just going to be paid under a different name. Ultimately, I don't think there is very much else in the fat in the budget that we can remove. We did go through quite closely and look at what else we could pull out of the budget. I'm more than happy to support any mayoral candidate who's requesting a line-by-line review, and we will do that. But just ultimately, I don't think the answer is we're going to find very much, because it has been done before, and because it's been neglected over time, that even when we pull out the water infrastructure, Hutt City Council is still going to have some responsibility for overland flood control, which we will have to budget for, and probably isn't included in our budget at the moment.
There's a lot of internal workings in the council that I would learn if elected. The key thing for me, though, really is that a full review is done. A couple of the councillors I've spoken to said there is room for savings, there's room for cost cutting, there's areas that the budget can be reduced. I don't know right now what they are. If elected, I would find that out, and I would have that answer within 3 months.
Okay, what box number?
We did 21.
21. Okay, so the voting age when my grandma first voted in 1949.
Right, good memory.
That's right. It's also the year that we had our first female Māori MP and last ever parliamentary widow succession of Iriraka Ratana, MP for Western Māori, who was the only one to make a career out of being a member of parliament as a widow of 20 years.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What region?
Wanganui, but the electorate was Western Māori, and her grandson, Adrian Ruafei, is currently in Parliament and was our former Speaker. So, yeah.
There we go.
Okay, we've got O, and in my head trying to work out, is there a suburb that starts with O in Lower Hutt? I don't know, what's the name of the water reservoir out in Wainuiomata? Is it Ongaronga?
Onga sounds familiar. I don't know. Or you're thinking about Oronga, the Oronga Valley.
Yes, that sounds about right.
Yeah, the Oronga Valley. I
Yes,
walked out there as a 12-year-old. Yeah, the Orongas. That's right. A lovely area. Jacob's Ladder is out that way, and then it all flows down into the Ngawi area.
Yeah.
So the question is,
what do you see as the biggest challenge facing your community?
And I know this is the case because I'm out talking to people daily about their finances and helping them make good decisions with their money. The biggest thing that people are facing right now is the rising cost of insurance and rates. That's for households and that's for business owners. So I think that's the biggest challenge that's facing the community. With that comes social behaviour. If people are in desperate measures, they take desperate actions. And I know down in Jackson Street, just because I spend a lot of time there are people that walk in and they'll try a jacket on and walk out the shop and wave to the camera as they go. So I'm really concerned about the social impact that this has on our community, and that's why I'm focused on businesses prospering, youth prospering, and bringing communities together through prosperity will reduce a lot of that social impact. So, and a lot of youth don't see a career or a pathway here, and my sons are classic examples of that.
Okay, Chris.
So yeah, finances are definitely the biggest pressure that we are facing at this present time. Coming very shortly, and we will continue to feel it more, and we have with Cyclone Gabriel, is climate change and the effect of climate change. Cyclone Gabriel is estimated to have been 20% worse than it would have been without climate change. Had that hit Te Awa Kairangi, we would have ended up with one of our banks of our river breaching and all of that flooding aspect. So while the immediate is finances, the long-term issue is how we continue to adapt and change our behaviour so we don't have as much of an impact on our climate.
Okay. What box number, Chris?
22.
So my birthday. Unfortunately, my age, honestly, my age doesn't actually fit within the box numbers anymore. Try to think, when I first did, no, I'm actually trying to think, not under the current one. I fit the first one in the 40, yes, it would have fit. But yeah, we dropped them down to 30 and now they're down to 28. Okay, we got M for Moria. Moria? Moira? Yeah.
Moira.
Yeah, in my head I'm right having like all these different letters and jumbled up orders coming in. What are your ideas for achieving more public participation in local government?
So I think for the right thing that we need to find the right topic for this to work, but actually going out to the community and taking a selection of the community, 100 people, and using a citizens assembly. So you take 100 people that are from have the same demographic makeup as the rest of your community does, and bring them in a room to make a decision about something. And it's generally going to be something that's difficult to deal with. And my suggestion that I'd like to see it done with is what we're going to do about our FOGO, our food and organic recycling. We're currently sending a significant amount of waste to the landfill. That waste is then turning into methane. That methane we are actually using, and we are burning it and generating electricity. So it's not being wasted, but it is filling up that space. It is creating methane, which leaks out, which is adding to our climate change. And ultimately, it's good food for the garden. So how do we actually reuse that resource and ensure that we deal with it? But that's a really difficult question to answer, and there are lots of ideas within the community. So I think that community idea is the best way of dealing with that and engaging with people.
And Robbie?
Public participation in local government decisions appears to be relatively low from where I sit. I think a lot of people don't take it seriously until it affects them. It's a bit like the story with water, and they only feel that there's a drought when they turn the tap on and the water doesn't come out. But actually, we've been talking about a drought for 6 months before and preparing in advance. So, I'd love to see the community getting more engaged in local government decisions. I think that's really important that the voice is represented. So how do we do that? I think, as we spoke about before, running surveys on areas that people will relate to, that directly affect them. I think that's where you start to get engagement, and certainly agree with hosting more community events and activities, and getting the public and the ratepayers involved in those discussions. We need to hear what they say, but they also need to hear what's going on, because there's a lot going on that doesn't get communicated back to the ratepayers. So a greater engagement on the matters that people are going to respond to.
Okay, Robbie.
23.
23.
Thank you.
It's all right. I kind of feel that's a bit of a useless number now. Okay, we got I for India.
Yes.
What should the local government be doing about climate change?
And it was good to hear your views earlier, Chris. For me, when I read the question, I thought, well, the number one thing is managing recycling as effectively as possible. And I'm aware of Upper Hutt, where there's a organic waste recycling depot, a chap up there that set that up, where he's turning organic waste into composting soil within 4 hours. So I think, anything that we can do that's going to recycle, repurpose, reduce and reuse in the community is a vital thing to do for climate change. I mean, we are a small country. We are a small part of climate change. It's important. And I know that the larger countries are pulling out of the Paris Accord, but being a Kiwi from the Hutt, still think that's a really important thing that we do. Encouraging the use of electric vehicles. I've been an EV driver for a long time. I think that's really important. As we said before, raising awareness around water responsibility. I've learned that there's water tanks that delay the water supply out into the waste system, but I think why not have tanks that actually feed the garden rather than go back out into the system? So to me, that's a really critical one.
Yeah, Robbie's quite right about that. That's flood prevention, and unfortunately, that is all those tanks are currently being used for. They're a stormwater overflow, and they don't actually utilise them. They're not legislated to be utilised, and that's something we can change through our district plan process. Although, unfortunately, that's on hold until the central government finish deciding what we're doing with that. Ultimately, the thing that council can do about climate change is lead by example, and I'm quite pleased to see that overall we are doing that. Our biggest issue now, as I mentioned before, is dealing with the methane from the landfill, and also generating our own electricity, or how do we go about that? And at the moment, we're very aware that actually the cost-benefit analysis, i.e. how long it takes for things to pay for themselves, it's pretty good on solar. We're down to about, 10 years with a council infrastructure. The problem is we don't want to borrow more money and put that onto ratepayers at this point. So at some stage, we'll need to be looking at putting solar onto areas and bringing some of that power generation in-house.
And it's interesting you mentioned about the stormwater surge tanks, because if every, so I know this is a Wellington City area, but if every dwelling in Kandala and Nio and Crofton Downs had the stormwater surge tank in I think it's the June 2021 flood that basically sunk Kaiwhatawhata, if those stormwater tanks were in place, the worst extreme of the heights wouldn't have, the 3 p.m. deluge that went through that went to see the flood down the main street wouldn't have actually hit the main street, because the water would have trickled in and slowly ran out to the Wellington Harbour, not had a big gushing rush and had to find which way it could get to the sea the quickest.
Yeah, and you're quite right. Managing our impact on our environment can be done a lot better. Those types of changes take a long time to put in. They take time to build. You don't want to go and just dig up a street to put something in if you're not doing it. So it's making sure that we incentivize that. And what part of that conversation will be when we start putting in water meters, and I do say when, because they will be coming, that actually means that we put a value on water. And therefore, if you have a storage tank that you can access, it then saves you money in the long term. And unfortunately, water meters, I've had this conversation with a number of council officers, are the cheapest way of reducing and managing our network. So it reduces the cost because it saves us money in terms of we use less water, but it also allows us to find leaks more efficiently as well.
As long as they're smart water meters, not dumb ones.
Absolutely.
And
They are smart.
Nick about that one because he's actually had an insurance claim that a smart water meter would have prevented a lot of damage.
Yes, finding a leak at 2 o'clock in the morning. If you're using 2 litres a minute at 2 o'clock in the morning, you know you've got a problem, and smart water meters can do
I
that.
think it wasn't. No.
Street water pressure was coming into the house. Right. Yeah, not good. Not good at all.
Yeah. And that was literally, what it is. So, Chris, what box number?
I've lost count. What are we up to?
24?
24 will do, yeah.
Okay, we got in for 99. What will you do to stop poor council expenditure and allocate resources to critical infrastructure and rein in huge increases?
So as we've mentioned a number of times, those huge rate increases are coming because we haven't put the spending in the right place at the time. So there isn't, unfortunately, very much that we can do. I'm going to get a little bit political outside of local government for a second, but ultimately the previous Labor government that was putting in Three Waters had the option and had the ability within their infrastructure to reduce the amount of borrowing that the new entity has to do, which would have reduced rates overall. National and the current government have chosen to not have that ability. We can borrow more money, but we still have to pay it back, and therefore, because we're borrowing more, we have to pay more interest rates on it, and ultimately it costs the consumer more than it could have had central government stepped up.
Robbie?
Yeah, as we've spoken earlier, my view on this is that we need a full review and audit of all of the council expenditure. And we need to analyse and assess the differences between the needs, the essentials, such as infrastructure, and the nice to have. We can't afford 46% increases over the next 3 years. And where is the money being spent? Is it being spent wisely? We need to prioritise the spending to ensure that the essential services are the ones that are taking the priority. This is a different era, I think, where we're heading now with the council. We need to ask questions of all the spending, as we've mentioned before, and holding people accountable. Not just accepting that it's just been done this way all the time, and that's the way it will always be done. The Hutt City Council is a large entity. There's hundreds of millions of dollars that it handles and manages, and it needs to be run accordingly. So reducing wasteful spending, once we understand where all of that money is being spent, knowing where that is, and making sure that people are accountable for the spending.
And we have one more question because we've technically gone over time. What box number?
Let's go for 25.
25. And it's why for yellow, because I don't want to offend the person behind the camera. Oh, this is a good one. Paid parking was put in Petone and paid parking in Lower Hutt was increased in the last term and has caused issues for businesses in both places. What are you prepared to do about paid parking in Lower Hutt, in Petone and Lower Hutt?
So this is clearly a question dear to my heart, being a Petone business. And as I mentioned earlier, we rallied around the business community to get 2,500 signatures on a petition to oppose paid parking in Petone. We thought there was a better way for the council to fund the water infrastructure that's required in Petone, particularly an investment of $600,000 to gain a $300,000 return. We're still waiting actually for the final figures of what the revenue's been for the last year since the paid parking's been introduced, and over $1 million worth of turnover in the businesses has happened since that time. So for me, the big thing is to ease that stress and burden on the business owners and offer a free 60-minute parking given that the infrastructure is already in place, the first 60 minutes free across Petone and Lower Hutt, so that people can come and shop and spend money.
Chris.
So for me, it needs to be evidence-based. At the moment, the evidence seems to be leading towards the fact that actually paid parking has increased the availability of car parks for people going shopping in Petone, which means that actually the downturn and the economic pain that communities and businesses, particularly in Petone, have felt has not been as bad as the same pain that other parts of the Te Awa Karangi have felt, which is really hard for businesses to hear when it's your business that has been suffering. And I definitely acknowledge that that pain has been there. But ultimately, it seems to be that the evidence is showing that actually paid parking is helping businesses. And so if we are going to do something like introducing 60-minute free parking, which I actually supported around the council table and did ask officers to investigate, it does come at a cost. And the question is that cost just to the community? Is that cost to the ratepayer? Is that cost ultimately to the business, because then they don't have the same turnover?
As someone who does make deliveries frequently on Jackson Street, since the paid parking has kicked in, I've actually found it easier to do deliveries along Jackson Street, whereas when it wasn't paid parking, sometimes it could be up to 2 blocks away from the destination of where you've got to do the delivery.
And the reason for that is because no one's going to the businesses, so the parking is available because of the paid parking.
Or you get people like me who are sticklers who hate paying for parking, and I tend to park like what do you call it? You know, the nearest near free parking and walk-in, but not everyone has that option. Yeah.
I mean, again, going back to the social impact, I happened to see a 74-year-old park in the library just behind where our office is, and there were 2 large Polynesian guys who were standing over her car. She was trying to get out and find some money. All she wanted to go and do was a blood test. She was in for 10 minutes. And so, I see the impact on the people in the community on a day-to-day basis from a social and a business perspective. So I think having someone that's in touch with that community, what's actually happening on the street versus looking at data a year later, is probably, we need to get real about what's actually happening out there.
Okay, so we're going to take a 10-minute break, and then we'll come back for hard-hitting questions.
Just a short little breather to stretch out your legs. You don't need a leader. The live stream will be back, so don't go too far. But for now you can wander wherever you are. Intermissions aren't really a thing anymore, but we think they're cool, a tradition to adore. A moment to breathe, have a laugh, maybe chat. There's magic in breaks, and we're keeping that. Head to the lobby, your kitchen with glee, for snacks that are tasty and drinks. Fill up your plate, pour a glass, take your time, then come back refreshed. We'll resume on a dime. Your kitchen with glee, for snacks that are tasty and drinks. Maybe 3. Fill up your plate, pour a glass, take your time, then come back refreshed. We'll resume on a dime. Into the lobby, your kitchen with glee, for snacks that are tasty and drinks. Maybe 3. Fill up your plate, pour a glass, take your time, then come back refreshed. We'll resume on a dime. The lobby, your kitchen with glee, for snacks that are tasty and drinks. Maybe 3. Fill up your plate, pour a glass, take your time, then come back refreshed. We'll resume on a dime. little breather to stretch out your legs. You don't need a leader. The live stream will be back, so don't go too far. But for now, you can wander wherever you are. Intermissions aren't really a thing anymore, but we think they're cool, a tradition to adore. A moment to breathe, have a laugh, maybe chat. There's magic in breaks, and we're keeping that. Head to the lobby, I mean your kitchen with glee, for snacks that are tasty and drinks. Fill up your plate, pour a glass, take your time, then come back refreshed. We'll resume on a dime. Your kitchen with glee, for snacks that are tasty and drinks. Maybe 3. Fill up your plate, pour a glass, take your time, then come back refreshed. We'll resume on a dime. Into the lobby, I mean your kitchen with glee, for snacks that are tasty and drinks. Maybe 3. Fill up your plate, pour a glass, take your time, then come back refreshed. We'll resume on a dime. The lobby, I mean your kitchen with glee, for snacks that are tasty and drinks. Fill up your plate, pour a glass, take your time, then come back refreshed. We'll resume on a dime.
Oh shit, don't panic, but it's almost time to get back to the show. The candidates have stretched their legs, been partying, taking a break. There's still hard-hitting questions, closing statements and stuff you wanna know. So grab those snacks for their answers and prep for decisions you need to make. Oh, 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 oh. The candidates have stretched their leg. The candidates have stretched their legs, been partying, taking a break. Oh, 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 oh. There's still hard-hitting questions, closing statements and stuff you wanna know. So grab the snack you wanna know. So grab those snacks to the answers and prep for decisions you need to make. Oh, 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 oh. comes near, your voice is loud, it's crystal clear. Kiwi dreams and hopes collide. Choose the ones who'll stand with pride.
And welcome back to It's in the Ballot. Now let's get ready for hard-hitting questions.
Hard-hitting questions. We don't get any debating. What does a question? Because every candidate is standing behind. Hard-hitting questions.
Okay, we got hard-hitting question number one. There are lots of talks about amalgamation into a unitary authority similar to Auckland Council. What are your views? Robbie?
I think there's a really important conversation that is going to be had at some point in time, and we need to be involved and engaged in that conversation at every step of the way. I think some kind of amalgamation is possible at some point in time. And I think, Lower Hutt, Upper Hutt seems like a natural one. Cardiff and Wairarapa, I don't know the full workings and mechanics of how that might look, but we need to have that conversation. That's going to happen with rates caps and various things that the government's involvement in councils has stepped up over the last number of years. So clearly it's something that's on the horizon, and we need to make sure that our region is represented correctly if and when those conversations are heading down a pathway of looking more like a reality, which seems to be quite possible in the future.
Okay, Chris.
So for me, it comes down to the question of why are we doing it? Are we doing it because we think we can save money? And the first question there is, did Auckland Council actually save money? Oh, we have a problem. Yeah, we have changed my friends. It's turned down to
Okay.
Hello. No, okay. Check 1 2 1 2. Check 1 2.
Calling from the
Yes.
Kelson Community Centre. Calling.
Kelson Community Centre host desk is receiving.
Great to have you on board.
Check 1 2 1 2.
I'm not hearing either.
Oh, we're going to share Sam's microphone, are we?
Apparently.
Well, your one's coming through. Yeah, that
This
one.
one here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see that it is.
Go. I can't remember where I was at.
So the questions around
Amalgamation, and my question was, should we do it? Well, the question is why are we doing it? Are we doing it to save money? Because actually, if I pull in the water infrastructure, that's 60. Still not working.
Oh.
Oh, it's come off.
Okay. Can you hear me, Laura?
No, but you'll see the message in the chat.
Okay. I think I can hear myself. Just yes, no, maybe. Yes, we can. Turn this one up, please. Right. Fantastic. Check 1 2 1 2. Check 1 2 1 2. Check 1 2. And we seem to be good. Okay.
Okay.
Take 3. Kia ora. So the first question is why are we looking at amalgamation? Are we doing it to save money? And what has happened with our super cities in the past? Have they worked? And Auckland City Council, I don't think has ended up saving money. If we are looking at amalgamation, where are we hoping those savings are going to come from? If it's, we've got to remember that our biggest spend, 60% of the spending over the next 10 years, is our water infrastructure, and that's already been taken away from councils and amalgamated in some form already. The next question is do our communities want it? And yes, I don't totally agree we should ask the question, and that's partly why you've got this in non-binding referendum, because we're already doing the Māori water referendum. It's relatively cheap and therefore cost effective to add a second question in there, which is the non-binding one. Should we look at amalgamation? Interesting, you mentioned about Upper Hutt combining with Lower Hutt. I don't think Upper Hutt are particularly keen on that idea, and one of the surveys that I've seen running around is currently sitting at more than 60% saying no to that idea.
Yeah, it's yeah, and it will be some candidate would have done it at one thing thinking they're doing something helpful, because I remember when Andy put all the tapes on was when we were on it was when they were on double adapters before we had the 8-channel snake. Yeah, and it was because if someone turned it off, it killed the other one. Yeah, so you see, yeah.
Here. How is that? Do you see anything happening?
As it can be, we heard something come through.
All right, good.
All right.
And something I'd like
Stay alive, Nick, and test if that's coming up better on your screen. So that if I'm talking in there, does it come up? Oh, ask Laura. Okay. Roads lead to Laura.
Yeah, I've already turned myself down. If I turn any further
I
down.
think he needs to turn me down or turn this microphone down. Is that right? No?
Okay. Okay, yeah.
Take out the rubbish.
Okay, and I'm at 70%. Oh, God.
All right. Is that better?
Okay, next time I'd like this fault testing to be done when we're not on camera for the whole world to see. Yeah. Okay, we've got hard-hitting question number 2. Do you think you... Okay. Yeah. Do you think you have any personal or professional relationships that could become a conflict of interest while serving as a council member? So you've got a microphone in your hand, Robert.
Yeah, no, so the only one I can think of is I'm the current treasurer at the Jackson Street program. I don't think that would be a conflict of interest. Our current coordinator is the deputy mayor of Upper Hutt, and I've worked with her for over 10 years, and she does a great job in both roles. So that's the only thing that that I can think of that would be a conflict or potential conflict.
Hey, Chris.
So the thing with conflicts of interest is they're actually relatively easy to work around. You make sure you declare them, and yes, I do have some. I've worked at Wesley Rata for pottery there, and therefore when I'm on funding panels that are allocating funds to that, I simply step out of the room. And so the same thing goes for if I've got conflicts that appear at council. I don't think that there are any that are going to cause any significant issues, but to be safe, if there is an issue, if there is a potential perceived conflict, then we do declare them.
Okay. And a conflict of interest of mine, just to be on the record, a residents association, which also has an umbrella funding agreement for if we need to have an incorporated society for its ballot to apply through. So yes. Okay, now let's get to the most important question I think for this election. You're right there, Nick. Yeah, but I'm at 50% and you guys are 110.
Apparently, I need to use more of my teacher voice.
Like, I'm losing my rag here.
You are after 12,000 today.
Okay, you want us to both talk, and then you can understand whether or not we're getting decent volume.
And you know which microphone's which. We can tell by the voice anyway.
Yeah.
Perfect. Rightio.
Still too quiet. Oh, we have success. Well done. Second. Okay. And the question is, what is our position on retaining Māori wards? Sorry, Sam.
Sorry, we're going to humanise it.
Yeah.
We don't want to just call them Māori wards or Maori wards. Let's actually say what they're actually called. What is your position on retaining Hutt City Council's, was it Manakarangi Ki Tai Māori Ward and Greater Wellington Regional Council's Te Upoko I Te Ika a Maui Māori constituency, and why do you hold that position? Let's kick off with Chris.
Ka pai rawa on today. Well done. For me, it's a no-brainer. We should keep them. I voted for them through the council process. We've heard from Tangata Whenua and iwi that actually they really value them. It's part of our treaty commitment. I've also had the privilege of working in a true partnership situation within Play Centre where we had equal representation of both Māori and Pākehā. And it works incredibly well. And having a Māori ward councillor, we haven't unfortunately had the experience of seeing the benefits of having a ward councillor around the table, but it functions very much like the wards that we have at the moment, and the fact that the ward that we're standing for, if you're not on the general roll and you're on the Māori roll, then you can vote for that ward, and anybody can stand for that ward.
Okay, Robbie.
Yeah, look, I think it's a great thing that we have this available in our democratic society. And so I'm supportive of maintaining things as they are. But more importantly, I will support what people vote for. And I think it's the wider voice really in this conversation, rather than my opinion, that is the most important. So with that, I think it's just really important that everyone gets out to vote. You know, whatever it is you feel, make sure you get out and vote, and have that, you know, anyone who's elected knows that that's what the people want, and then they can represent that voice clearly.
Okay. Behind Chris. Yeah. I keep going? Okay. Okay. And now we see Nick on camera. Okay. So it is time for closing statements on why the Western General Ward voters should give you their first, their one and only tick for Mayor. Gee, I've got the floor wrong, but I haven't got the right one.
First past the post in different candidacy. This is good.
I gave it. Whoever's elected Western Ward wants the mayor's salary.
That'd be nice.
Okay. Yes, for Western Ward, not mayor, for their tick. Chris.
Sure. So thank you for the privilege of being here this evening, and thank you, Robbie, for standing, because otherwise we wouldn't have had this conversation, and it did look like at the last minute I was going to be elected unopposed. And I'm really glad that I've had the opportunity to talk to people, continue those conversations,
and the excuse to get out of the door and keep on door knocking. So for me, if I've done a good job of representing you and being engaged with you and your community, then I'd love to continue to represent the Western Ward for the next 3 years and continue to serve my community.
Robbie. Yes, so I've been asked to run for council previously and said no, and decided this time that I would stand. I believe in a democracy. I believe people having a choice is really important. And, if elected, what I will bring, as mentioned earlier this evening, is conversation that perhaps might be uncomfortable for some of the people in the council from the past. But I do feel strongly about the rising costs of living for everybody. Rates is an important part of that. I want to make sure that wasteful spending is managed correctly. I want to make sure that there's better communication around water reform. We know that it's happening, but what is actually happening and how well do our members in our community know and understand that? And all of those things contribute to creating and enhancing a better environment for us all to live with economic prosperity and opportunities for our youth.
Okay. Oh, well, we've got to that fun part of the night. And we're very short, sharp, sweet closing statements. I feel like we want to keep going on all night long. Okay. So just before we go, a little bit of general housekeeping. It's in the Ballot is an independent non-profit organisation focusing on bringing democracy to the voters. And we run on small dollar donations donated for our members and the people who tend to watch our content. If you'd like to sit there and make a donation, you can head to our Eventbrite page and do a koha without admission donation. You can also sit down there and put a donation to our Give a Little page. And sorry, that was what's it called? Trying to swallow ear. You can also go to our website and click on donate, and you can get our bank account number. Our website is itsintheballot.nz, and click on donation. You can donate funds directly to our Kiwi Bank account. Now, today's show to sit there and bring the cost of this event to make happen. We thank Kelson Community Centre for supplying us highridge for $10. It's quite a relief compared to most venues usually are in triple digits. Okay, our Starlink connection to broadcast the show today was $14. Our restreaming hosting was $31, and our fuel allowance, because we had 2 cars come here, we have a budget of $100 per show per vehicle, and we have a $50 refreshment budget. So if you'd like to sit there and help with the costs to keep these shows running, we will very, very much appreciate it, as it can sit down there and keep the cash flow flowing in to provide these shows. I do know I got an email from Hutt City Council today, ironically, to ask me to pay for the Wainui Mata hall venue, which was close to $300, which was meant to be paid a week ago, but this is what happens when you're running on the smell of an oily rag. You've got to prioritise when to pay and can you pay. So every dollar does help, literally, metaphorically speaking. Oh, and also, if you want to, you can. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can always do a YouTube super chat or a YouTube super thanks if you're not watching live. So those are options on there. Now, before we go, I want to ask, if you were to come to my business, being here at Newtown Market on Saturday and buy a coffee, what would it be, Robbie?
You know, up until 2 or 3 years ago, I wasn't a coffee drinker at all. I've been drinking green tea and various flavoured teas. But right now and today down at Caffeine, I had probably the best mochaccino I think I've ever had in the last 2 years. So that's what I'll be looking for when I come to see you, Sam, out in Newtown. A good large mochaccino.
We can do a giant one with a quad shot if you want. And Chris?
And for me, it would be an oat milk latte. Recently, last couple of years, changed to oat milk and found that the flavour is just as good as cows. And thinking about that environmental impact as well.
Well, that's a bit of a different reason than like mine, which is the dairy allergy. Yes, or you can get vegan cheese or vegan butter, which is half the price of the cow stuff at the moment. Yeah, doesn't quite sound right, but it's just what it is. Okay, so tomorrow we're off for a big bumper fun day of It's in the Ballot shows. At 3 p.m. tomorrow, we've got the Raumati Community Board. At 4 p.m., got the Paihakiri Raumati General Ward for Kapiti Coast District Council. At 6 o'clock, we've got the Paihakiriki Community Board, and at 7 o'clock, we've got the Kapiti Coast constituency of the Greater Wellington Regional Council, all coming live from the Raumati Bowling Club. So if you're in the area and want to join us, you can join us there. And I'd like to say thanks to our candidates for coming out tonight, our audience for hoping and making it sound like there's strong support for everyone. To Nick and Laura for pulling off tonight's show, and for Stacey who pulled off the graphics with 90 minutes notice. We discovered that because of the way our sheet lined up on our schedule, it was mistakenly thought it was a non-production day like yesterday, unintentionally, because the Western Ward show was just underneath the page line. So thank you, Stacey, for pulling off those graphics literally at the last minute to make things work. So yeah, and Nick, can you roll closing credits, please?